Hi guys, how's it going? And here we are back with another video. So this one, as the title would suggest, is about this device right here. It's currently put in charge, so I can't move it too much, but it is the Sony Z5 Compact. New smartphone that I've now been using for, text just came through there, but for a number of weeks now, and it's been a very, very enjoyable experience. I was using this Apple iPhone 5 before. As you can see, it's in a battery case because the battery life just deteriorated, as it seems if you look anywhere on the internet. A lot of iPhone batteries seem to do, but yeah, I made the move over from iOS to Android just as I'm going to be making the move over to PC from Mac. You can't actually see it, that'll frame here is a PC case with somewhat of a PC in it, not running yet. There's still a bunch of stuff I need to get for that, with my Mac Mini currently sat on top of it, which I'm obviously using to power the computer. I do have a new keyboard, as you can see here, with there is a review coming of that as well, but today we're talking about the Sony Z5. I really enjoy using this phone. As I said, I've been using it now for a few weeks, and as far as I can say, Android isn't as bad as I remember it. Like, I used a HTC Desire about 4 years ago. I've been using the iPhone 5 for about 3. And I had the HTC for about 2. And the HTC, like, when I first got it, it was a pretty good phone, but it very quickly deteriorated and actually literally fell to bits in some ways. I think some parts of it came off. And the battery life was shocking, but as a whole, it wasn't terrible. It just deteriorated quicker than I'd like. So I got the iPhone, but then other than the actual battery life deteriorating, everything else has been pretty fun. The lack of storage is a problem, and being able to expand with micro SD is very nice on the Sony. Well, software wise, I don't think Android's as lacking as it used to be. Like, I used to think iOS still was a more rounded experience, whereas Android was still a bit hit and miss depending on which manufacturer you went with. But these days I think Android's become a much better software, especially because people tending to keep it a lot more stock, other than Samsung with their extremely adjusted TouchWiz interface. But Sony doesn't really do much tweaking software wise, has the feel of their own icons and all that kind of stuff, but they don't generally go more than that. It's fairly stock, there's not a lot of bloatware on it. You get the most of the 32 gigs of onboard that you can get, and obviously being able to expand up to a 200GB micro SD card is very nice. I'm getting 128 gig micro SD card for it soon, so that'll be nice. So yeah, this video, obviously, as I say, we're going to be talking about the Sony. And firstly, as obviously this is a photography channel, we're going to talk about the camera, and for the first chunk of this camera stuff, I'm just going to be literally doing a voiceover over the actual footage that I've got in the Premiere Pro timeline. I've compared it just to itself with no color grading and color grading. I've tested the different frame rates and resolutions it can do. So I've tested full 4K 30 FPS, I've tested 1080p at 30 FPS, 1080p at 60 FPS, and 720p at 120 FPS. All those will be in there, and I've also in some of the shots compared it directly to my DSLR that I'm filming this video on. So yeah, that's where we're going to go with this, and now we're going to cut and we're going to move over to the voiceover and have a look at this footage.
Hi guys, how's it going? So as you can see, we are looking at a non-colour graded shot of the Saltburn scene, and we're back over to looking at colour graded scene. There's a much more vibrancy, and it colour grades really surprisingly well for phone footage. And here we go with another shot. No colour grade, it's quite flat, a little bit of saturation, but overall it's pretty clean. And then when we colour grade, we can bring out the colours and we get a really nice, quite cinematic look, I think. Seems the footage from the Sony's pretty good for getting that cinematic feel out of a shot. Moving on to quite a difficult shot for a phone. As you can see, we've got it moving around towards almost where the sun is, and it's burning out a bit, but it isn't terrible. And as soon as we get a colour grade in there, we bring back quite a lot of detail. As you can see, the sky's nowhere near as burned down. There's a lot more colour in it, and there's a nice amount of vibrancy and detail in the shadows too. So here this is some 60p footage, 60 FPS. With some water, it looks quite nice. Looks quite nice, well colour graded, quite nice contrast you can bring through, and some really nice colour in the rocks and in the water. And then when it's slowed down, it looks and sounds pretty awesome. So these are some shots from Newcastle. This is taken on DSLR, and the colour grade nice and simple, just a wipe across, but see the DSLR, it's fairly good in the dynamic range. It's definitely crushing on the blacks a bit, but when colour graded, get quite a nice cinematic look there. So all these shots, as I say, were shot on my Nikon D5100 DSLR. Shot in a 35mm prime lens at f1.8. This was on my wide-angle 18-105 lens. You can see quite nice and cinematic, not much dynamic range though. And now here we are back on the Sony. See, there's a little bit more saturation in the non-colour graded shot, but when we get that colour grade in there, it's actually not too dissimilar. And we have a wider shot with the hint of lens flare peeping in from the sun over that building, but as a whole these look good. These are some are shot 1080p, some of them 4K. This one's 1080p. I think the 1080p, it comes with a bit of a sharpen applied to it that I don't particularly like that much, but the 4K does seem to come out actually quite a bit better. Then we've got there. So now this is St Mary's Lighthouse. This is a very nice location, a bit north of me, and this is a DSLR. Obviously you can tell by the smooth pan that I'm managing to pull off with the fluid head that I use on the tripod. And the colour grade is quite nice, as you can see. Quite a good dynamic range despite the very bright conditions, and with a big wide object like the lighthouse, it's very beneficial. It's got a fairly good dynamic range in the highs, or the highlights and whites, I should say. I've just got this nice smooth pan and the colour grade, and you can get quite a cinematic look. It's very nice. You can see the exposure does change a little bit as I pan up, and the camera adjusts its exposure, which is a bit of a pain. It's one thing I do dislike about my Nikon. Now we're back over to the Sony as a comparison. You can see 1080p, this is quite definitely a sharpening applied to it, but when colour grade it still looks pretty nice. I say I definitely prefer the 4K footage that this phone produces. So there's another 1080p shot, I think. Colour grade is quite nice, not quite as nice as the DSLR in this situation, but still pretty nice. This one's 4K as far as I'm aware. You can see it's not quite as over sharpened, not as much moire, a little bit of moire around the railings at the bottom of the lighthouse there, but as a whole it's pretty clean. And this is just a quick comparison test here. This is 1080p at 30 FPS. I'm just seeing the light levels and how everything looks. This is 60 FPS, and I've played it back at 24 FPS, which is the native resolution of this project. And then we've got the 4K. As you can see, there's definitely a certain element of smoothness but clarity to it in comparison to the 1080p. And finally, this is at Helmsley. This is just a little river going through town. This is 1080p, it's quite sharpened. You can see in the highlights of the buildings there are much more blown out. But when we get this 4K here, it's much smoother. There seems to be an increased dynamic range, and it seems to meter quite a bit better. And then 120 FPS, 720p, even blown up to 1080p like this, still looks pretty damn good, I think.
So here we are with the phone itself. This is going to be kind of difficult because there's a camera in the way. I'm literally looking at the camera to figure out what I'm doing on the screen. No, it should be okay. So this is the phone itself. As you can see, you can flick through. We've got the home screen, and where you can all sorts of things. You can close out. Simple task manager. People know what Android generally works like. You can see it's pretty snappy. If I just lock it and unlock it, you can see the fingerprint scan is pretty quick. Camera app launches fairly quickly. It's probably the slowest app to open. I think it's still pretty quick, and you can
got a shortcut for 4K camera, home screen there, still pretty snappy as well. Another cool thing Sony has is you can have these little apps that run small, so you can have like a calculator and do all that kind of fun stuff. See, that's great. I'm going to quickly here set that down there.
Hi guys, so cut over to this shot as I'm going to talk to you guys about a comparison between the Sony and my old iPhone 5, which is coming in charge. I was going to try and film in that take you were looking at a few months ago, but unfortunately it is incredibly low battery, so I couldn't do that. So yeah, I ran Geekbench tests on both phones previous to doing this segment, so I've already got some results to show you direct comparison in performance. And as you saw with that footage there, the phone is pretty snappy and normally use. The iPhone, I take my word for it, is definitely not in comparison, but, as the benchmarks will show why. So moving on, so the Geekbench test, it looks at single core performance and multi-core performance, so you get 2 scores. First score I will read will be single core, second I will read will be multi in per test. Start with the Sony. So test 1 got 1367, 3829. So that's 1367, 3829 for anybody else who doesn't go by that system. 1381 and 4005, 1373, 3918. So those 3 tests, and I worked out an average which comes to 1373 on the single core and 3917 on the multi-core. And then with the iPhone, got 687, 1204, 705, 1278, 704 and 1278, which averaged out to 698 and 1253. So as you can see just in those scores there, it's significantly quicker than Sony. And the result comes to just short of 2 times quicker on the single core and 3 times quicker on the multi-core. So yeah, it's a much quicker phone, much quicker. The main test that I did shows direct comparison, obviously, is yeah, I think the Sony definitely brought away with it. It's for a younger phone, it was always going to outperform the iPhone, but yeah, I'm definitely impressed with the speed. I don't have an iPhone 6s or any of the Sony's like up-to-date current competitors to compare it to directly, unfortunately, otherwise I would also test those. So yeah, that's been the performance comparison there, and now we're going to move on to overview and conclusion. So to conclude in this review, I'm going to start generally overviewing the phone. So it's got a 4.6 inch screen, Snapdragon 810 as I mentioned in the performance segment, not the portfolio there. 23 megapixel full 4K capable rear-facing camera, 2 gigabytes of RAM. I've got a 128 gig micro SD card in it now, it's expandable up to 200 gigabytes. It has 32 gigs of internal storage. It does have a rear-facing flash, obviously a rear-facing camera. It's got a 5 megapixel front shooter. Got a touch, it's got a fingerprint scanner under the home button. As you can probably tell, I'm just looking at the screen so I can make sure this is still in the frame. So it's got, yeah, fingerprint reader, 720p screen as well. That's 4.6 inch screen. Very good display. Lovely phone. Currently running Android 5.1. Android 6.0 Marshmallow is due to be released for it this month or next month, I think. I'm not entirely sure on that part. So yeah, that's an overview of the device itself, and to conclude, it's a wonderful phone. I'm very pleased with it. The 2 days battery life you get out of the 2700 mAh battery, if I remember rightly, it's fantastic. I do happily get full days of harsh use and multiple, like 2 days or so of quite light use. It's fantastic. Particularly, especially the camera's great, as you can see in the shots that I've taken. So yeah, that's that. It's a very pleasant phone to use. Good size, not too big so it just doesn't fit in pockets, not too small so that you can still read and browse the web on it and watch videos. It's overall a pretty perfect phone. I'm very, very happy with it. I would certainly recommend it to you guys. So that's been it for my Sony Xperia Z5 compact review. Shall see you guys next week with my review of the Rode lavalier microphone / Rode Link wireless system that you saw in the intro of this video. Thank you guys for watching. Adios.